Have a printed press release coming. It is in the process of being copied. There they are. If you'd like to have a copy, I appreciate you being here today. You know, we've had a couple of days now to try to digest what the governor has proposed in the way of a budget, and we just had a couple of reactions to it. Some things that we felt like needed to be said. I do think that the stories that we've seen about the governor's budget have pretty much hit the right note. Things get cut, things need to be cut, government needs to sacrifice just like everybody else. But I think when you look at the details of her budget, I'm not so sure that's exactly what she's proposing. And we've handed a couple of things out to you. The first is from a page of her proposal. And I think the significant thing about this page is, if you'll look on the column that says revised 2008-2009, the total general fund spending for the current fiscal year is $20.385 billion. Now that represents, I will concede, a fairly significant cut from the original authorized budget. But if you look at her recommended budget for 2009-2010, it's $20 billion, and I have to get my glasses out, $981 million. That is in excess of $500 million more for next year than we're spending this year. So to characterize next year's budget as a cut from this year's budget is true in one sense, but in the practical sense that most people look at these things, it is not accurate to say that. We will actually, if this budget is adopted, the state of North Carolina will actually spend more money next year than it will spend this year. Now, at a time when we've got people in the private sector, we've got businesses in the private sector, we've got situations in the private sector where people are losing their jobs, people are cutting back in terms of employee salaries, people are seeing their 401k and other retirement plans either cut in half or in some instances decimated altogether. It just does not seem to me that this budget is a realistic approach to what we need to be doing in North Carolina. And there are just a couple of points that I'd like to make about the budget. The first is that there is no cut in spending in terms of real dollars. There is an increase in spending of better than $500 million. And even more spending in the second year of the biennium. The budget has a structural deficit. Now, we come to expect that to a certain extent because of the fact that we're receiving $1.7 billion from the federal government in the first year of the biennium that is being dedicated to the general fund budget. That is one-time money, money that the state cannot expect to receive in years beyond the first or the second year going forward. And the question is going to be, what are we going to do in year 3 when that money is not here? And so for that reason, I think it would be more prudent for us to reduce the spending by larger amounts and to set more money aside to cover ourselves if the economy continues to worsen, or in the event that we get to year 3 and the economy has not improved and we've still got these expenditures that are on the books as on a recurring basis, and we need to have money to cover those. The other thing is there are new taxes and fees in this budget to the tune of about $500 million in year 1. Over the 2-year biennium, more than $1.2 billion in new taxes. Those taxes will do a number of things. First, they'll further stretch family budgets. Those families that have a smoker in the family, those families that go out to eat and someone has a glass of wine, or they pick up a 6-pack of beer to watch the ball game or the race on the weekends, they're going to see additional taxes on them. A recession is not the time for us to be raising taxes. I passed out also a press release that came from Reynolds American that gives an idea of the number of jobs in North Carolina that continue to be dependent on the tobacco industry. Raising the cigarette tax by $1 a pack will put those jobs at risk. I don't think there's any question about that. This is not the right time for us to be doing that. This budget perpetuates the growth in state spending. It does not curtail that. It also does another thing. It further illustrates the Democrats' general approach to education policy. Their general approach to education policy has for years now been, if we just tell people we're spending more money, they'll be satisfied that education is getting better. We have seen over the past 20 years that policy employed, and that policy is a total and complete failure as far as education is concerned. More money does not, in and of itself, mean better education. We've seen that, and the thought that we can say we've got a budget or we're going to pass a budget, and just because it spends more money on education, it's better for education, is a complete fallacy. The budget fails to take advantage, and I'll let Representative Stam talk in a little more detail, but we had a press conference earlier this session where we pointed out specific things that could be done to save money. To my knowledge, there is not one of those is taken by the governor in this budgetary approach. The closest she comes is with reference to the Clean Water Management Trust Fund. I think she reduces the appropriation by $25 million, but continues a recurring appropriation of $75 million to that fund. This budget proposal, in my view, represents a missed opportunity. Everybody in the state understands that we're in tough times. Everybody in the state understands it's time to cut back. Everybody in the state understands that government spending growth has far exceeded inflation over particularly the last 5 or 6 years. Yet what we have is a budget proposed by Governor Perdue that actually increases spending from spending that will take place this year. The people of North Carolina are prepared for the government to curtail its spending in many respects. The people of North Carolina are themselves having to deal with the reality of the economic slowdown, and this budget proposal does not deal with the reality in a way that is productive and in a way that's going to bring North Carolina out of the recession in a strong position when the recession does end. And I'll turn it over to Representative Stam.